Okay, so it's not funny. Dean is correct. Okay, so the passcode, which I totally forgot, is water. Let's just do water. Water. I've already published it, or at least I've already finished it. I just have to add the passcode to it, but we'll just make it into water. Sound good? Okay. All right, so you guys can still see my screen, correct? I'm still sharing my screen? Yeah? Okay. All right, great. So let's go over DBQ. So if you would like to stay for DBQs, then great. This shouldn't take super long. When are we going to put together our binders and notes and stuff? We'll put together the binders about a week to 2 weeks before the AP exam, because you guys are going to be helping me create the binders, so I have to get you guys to be able to do that. Okay? All right. Bye. All right, so if you want to look at your DBQ pre-write, or if you want to look at the DBQ stuff, I'm going to go over really quickly some common questions regarding the DBQ and kind of how to organize it, what it'll look like, and different things like that. Now, this document is probably going to end up being the best for understanding the format of how you write this DBQ, okay? So the first paragraph, there is absolutely nothing different whatsoever in terms of the first paragraph, all right? So first paragraph, you can earn 2 points from it. Historical context connected to your thesis and your thesis. First 2 bullets are worth 1 point. Thesis is worth 2. Does anybody have, I'll give one more before I ask for questions. So I've had a lot of people ask me, how do I write the thesis with the relative importance? There's many different ways you could do that. You could say that there were many important causes of imperialism, or of America becoming a worldwide power, such as most important, or with the most important being this, the second most important being this. You could say the relative importance of varying causes in descending order, and then go boom, 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 boom. The relative thing should not be on any other DBQ because it was a total failure. So hopefully they won't have that anymore. Anybody have any questions about the first paragraph, contextualization, what they could do for contextualization on this essay, anything like that? Okay. How do we write the paragraphs in general? That's what we were getting to, but let me just double check. Anybody else? Can we see this DBQ set up on Canvas? So if you click the DBQ, it has all these documents on it. So again, if you just click on the DBQ, the imperialism DBQ, the one that says it's due on Saturday, this has all of these documents that are on it. Okay, all right. So let's, can we do multiple terms for our contextualization? There's no need to. I would only choose one. Or if you're having a general theme, such as a lot of people are doing opening of trade to Asia, you can add in like gunboat diplomacy in there and things like that and still have it count. So it just depends on what you would want. Bye, Finn. Okay, so heading into actually writing your paragraphs, okay? So I want to quickly go over, I want to move this.
Well, for relative importance, well, that means like listing them in order of importance, right?
Yeah, that's what they wanted people to do, but they didn't say that. So they wanted people to say the most important cause was this. The second most important cause was this. The least important cause was this. The problem is they hadn't warned anybody that that's what they wanted, so it was a really big shock to a lot of people.
I see. So for when it says start with which side is your main argument, it means like whichever you think is most important.
Yes. So I would start your category 1 is going to be your most important cause. Category 2, most important. Can you change your categories? That's up to you guys. You can change all your categories. It doesn't matter. Okay. So from there, instead of this is a change because, would we say this is a, yeah. So you just change it to, so this is where it explains why it answers the question. So where should we list the relative importance? I would just do it in your introductory sentence. The most important cause for the expanding role of the United States in the world would be blank. DBQ is due on Saturday, so that you guys can meet with me if you would like to go over your information. Okay, and then so it explains why. This was the most important cause because blank. Okay, will you have a place where we can print this out? Are you referring to for the AP exam or for specifically this one? I can send it to the main office to have it printed. if you would like. So if you would like to have this printed, I can send this to the main office, and then you would have to go during their office hours to have it printed off. And I can go ahead and do that later today. Okay. So anyways, so heading into the actual thing. So really quickly before we start, I want to just cover, also I use the CCOT, as a way of writing. It depends on the essay prompt. So this specific essay prompt says different causes. So if the ones that you were looking at were changes or continuities, then yes. Can you post this on Canvas? It's already posted on Canvas. So if you go to the DBQ assignment, that is where you will find this. If you miss the points, it's because of something else. So if you miss the points, it's anything like that. But different causes, so it says causes, so this should be a causation essay, cause and effect. Okay. So anyway, so I want to cover really quickly, before we get too far into this, the documents. So what is the document telling you? Associated terms. Is this an expanding role or is this an effect of the role? By the way, this should have automatically told you this was a cause and effect essay. So really quickly, looking at the documents, I just want to make sure that you guys all got it correctly. So document 2, if you notice, it says the final competition of races for which Anglo-Saxon is being schooled. Who can tell me what term that is? Yeah, good job, Gabe. Social Darwinism. Okay, so Doc 2, social Darwinism is a cause of America's expanding role, or you could say it's an effect as well. It's kind of up to you. Doc 3, this one's easy. It is literally the sourcing. This is the interests of sea power, present and future. Alfred Thayer Mahan. You could have talked about, as your category would be, expanding the U.S. military, expanding the U.S. Navy to get more power. Anything like that could have worked. So I saw some people did their categories as an increase of militarism. Couldn't the term for Doc 2 be manifest destiny? This one could have also been manifest destiny. It depends on which one you want to go for. The best answer would have been social Darwinism, but they would have accepted manifest destiny in that as well. Just depends. Let's see. Doc 4, this one, if you notice on here, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Philippines, what event does this have to do with?
Spanish War.
Yay, Spanish-American War. So you could have put, so you can see where I hardly know which one to take first. Probably the best one for this one would have been talking about the acquisition of territories is probably what I would have done for this one if you're doing it as a cause. Or you also could have gone into wanting to help other countries, something like that. Can 4 also be consumerism? I don't know how you would do consumerism as this one. Because this one is in particular the acquisition of territories, which is why the bill of fare here has multiple different territories. Consumerism wouldn't have been effective this because we're buying territories, not just buying items. So I don't think consumerism would have worked for number 4. This one's the open door notes. This is basically opening up Asia to trade. So that's what you would have gotten for this one. This was an actual term, is the open door note. So you could have done trade with that one as well, or economic would have been fine as well. Doc 6, anybody have any guesses on what Doc 6 could have been? Either a cause or an effect? There's a term. Anybody have any guesses? Anti-imperialist league would have been good too. Anybody else? Assimilation would have been good too. Both of those are really good terms. Assimilation was the most common one referred to with this Doc 6. But the Anti-Imperialist League is what most people did on this one as an outside evidence point or as its main evidence point. But you can see it's forcing civilization on the people. And then if you use either Doc 1 or Doc 7 as an outside evidence, this one you could have done so many different things. You could have done big stick diplomacy, world's policeman, anything like that. Lucas, are you referring to Doc 7 or are you talking about Doc 6? Doc 6, so this one would have not. Notice the time period. This is actually right when TR becomes the president. So Teddy Roosevelt would not apply to this one because he's not the president yet. Sarah, didn't mention 1 or 7 at all. What I'm talking about with 1 or 7 is I did put on there you could have used one of them for outside evidence. So I'm mentioning them to make sure the people who did use them as outside evidence had identified them correctly. Okay. So, and then Doc 1 is the acquisition of Alaska, is Doc 1. Okay, so those are the documents that we talked about before. So let's talk about how you outline this. So first, I would personally, with the 5-document DBQ, if it were me, I would only have 3 categories. Did we have to use Doc 1 and 7? You shouldn't have used them as documents. It would have been outside evidence, but you did not. What I didn't want people to do is do both of their outside evidence points on 1 and 7 because they weren't thinking in their head. So I'm allowing people to use one of them if they wanted to, but I didn't want people to depend on them. I deleted them. So no, you did not have to use anything on Docs 1 and 7. Okay, so thinking of how you would put this together. So you would have your 3 categories. 3 categories is probably going to be the best. Some people in this essay did 2 categories where they combined one category had 2 docs, one category had 3 docs. 4 only if absolutely necessary. It really should, with only 5 docs, it should be about 3 categories. Only use 4 if absolutely necessary, and definitely don't use 5. Try to be able to merge them into together. You could also have one of these categories be an outside evidence point. So maybe you're extremely passionate about Hawaii and you want to make one of your categories all about Hawaii. That's okay too. It kind of depends on what you want to do. So thinking of how you do the setup. So we talked about this one up here in the past. 2 categories is perfectly fine. Anywhere is between 2 to 3 categories is about how much you would want to be able to do. Are some of the docs possibly going to be both cause and effect? It could be. It's however you want to interpret it. But most of your documents, so I put this up here, majority of your docs should go in your major arguments, so in your causes. You have no documents required in your unicorn point. You can put 1 or 2, but almost everything should be, for the most part, in paragraph 2. Most part, people who use it as an effect will do only 1 document in the effect, if any at all. Just as long as we use them all. That's the whole point. Have all of them. Do not do 4. Do all 5. Okay? So let's say, for example, somebody give me in the chat one of your categories that you used. And your documents. What's that?
Spanish-American War.
Okay, Spanish-American War. And how, I think that's Miles, how did you say that was a cause? Why would you say the Spanish-American War was a cause?
Spanish-American War was a cause of expanding the role of the United States in the world. Oh, wait, no. Well, yeah, from 1865 to 1910, because it led to the acquisition of formerly Spanish territories in the Caribbean and Philippine Islands. Okay, perfect. So your basis is it was a cause because we acquired multiple territories, therefore making us a world war power. Okay. By the way, Jack, really quick about the opening of Japan to the West. Notice what time date that is. That is actually before this essay, so that would be a really good HC. But if you used it in your essay, they would not count it for points. Oh, no, I was talking about it's fine. But hey, good job on the HC, so that's good. Okay, so we're going to go off of so that document is, what, Doc 3, 4? Which one is that? Doc 4? Okay. Yeah, 4.
Our broad categories, okay. Acquisition of territories would be fine. So, for example, if you did Doc 4, and if this had been a regular essay and you had Doc 1, Doc 4 and 1 would have grouped perfectly together because they're both talking about acquiring new territories. That's fine. What you don't want is an extra broad category. That's something like one of the expanding roles of America going into the world is being a worldwide power. That's an extremely broad topic. So that's what you would not. Or, for example, just saying the word economy is probably not the best. Or like if I just said because of economies, or I would rather rewrite that to something like expanding economic opportunity in the world. Does that make sense? So acquisition territories is fine, but just putting like interested in other countries is a little bit too broad.
Is Turner's thesis in this time period? Turner's
thesis is a fantastic outside evidence point.
Nice.
Ooh, hold on. Interesting. Okay, sorry. There's a big current event, but it's fine. Turner thesis is in the time period. So this time period of this essay, I think, is 1865 to 1910. So because that is in the time period, we're talking specifically about our body paragraphs. Turner thesis would be a great one. Okay. Could you put it? I hope you're doing okay, whoever that was. Could you put imperialist ideas for a category? I think imperialism is fine. It is very large, but you could literally do almost all of the documents in imperialism, but that's up to you. But yeah, you could do that. Do we have to do an effect in order to get the unicorn point? Yeah, there's other ways to gain the unicorn point, but the best way is to put 2 effects. That's the easiest way to get the unicorn point. Unicorn point is also only acquired by less than, I think it's 0.5% of students right now. So it's very hard to be able to get that point. Okay, so let's go through really quickly how you would be able to do this, of how you'd be able to get the points of writing your body paragraph. So we're going to go off of Doc 4 and say that America's expanding role was due to the acquirement of territories. So here's how I would do this. So if you notice topic sentence, restate the question or the thesis. And something along those lines. So language of the question here. There were many reasons for America's expanding role in the world between 1865 and 1910. Category 1. One example of these expanding roles are the most important cause for the expanding role of the United States in the world would be acquisition of territories. You need 2 effects for the unicorn point to answer that question. Okay, so I've just said that my introduction is the most important reason is imperialism. So define, or not imperialism, sorry, acquisition of territories. During the time period, America attempted to acquire many various territories. This was acquired through various treaties, as well as the annexation of multiple territories, such as, let's say, Hawaii. Now, if I throw Hawaii in there, I can do an outside evidence point, and I can explain how did we acquire into Hawaii. If I just mention it, I don't get the point. But if I say, for example, we acquired territories like Hawaii during this time, if I just say that, then I can try to get one of these define and explain points, but I cannot get an outside evidence point. Does that make sense? So in order to get the outside evidence point, I would have to say something along the lines of, the most important cause for America's expanding role in the world would be the acquisition of territories. During this time period, America attempted to acquire various territories. This can be seen, for example, through the annexation of Hawaii. And then I would have to explain, America wanted the Hawaiian Islands in order to get more sugarcane. Eventually, America acquired the island through annexation, which allowed America to freely trade back and forth between the ports. That would be an outside evidence right there, but just saying the word Hawaii does not. Can outside evidence go anywhere in the paragraph? Yes. It just depends on where you want to put it. All right. Everybody with me so far? Okay.
Oh, and HIP.
Hold on. Let's do HIP in just a second.
Okay.
Because I want to finish the paragraph real quick. So the next one would explain why does it answer the question, why is it the most important cause? The acquisition of territories was the most important cause because America wanted to be able to expand their worldwide power into other areas of the world. For example, after the Spanish-American War, America was able to acquire various former Spanish territories, such as the Philippines and Cuba. This can be seen in Doc 4, which states that America wanted to acquire territories formerly owned by Spain. Doc 4. And that gives you your define points and your explain points. Does anybody have any questions about that? Everybody with me? Okay. So, we talked about outside evidence, of what outside evidence, how you can be able to get that point. So, HIP analysis. You can do your HIP for whichever documents you want. You can put them all in one paragraph. You can put them for different, as long as there's a different document being HIP'd. So if you notice over here on the right, so you get 1 point for talking about 2 documents. You get 2 points for explaining why 4 documents connects to the question, which is why we always do all 5 documents, define and explain. Now, for outside evidence, if you use 2 outside evidence pieces throughout the entire essay, you get 2 points. And if you HIP 2, you get 2 points as well. So you're going to pick 2 of your 5 to HIP, okay, at absolute minimum. Now, normally most people put the HIP past the doc. Purpose is really good. Historical context is really good. Intended audience, in my opinion, is the hardest one to be able to do. But you would have to be very specific about it, and you just put it at the end. So, Miles, what was your question about HIP? Miles.
So basically, for outside evidence, if you use some kind of outside evidence in your HIP, that doesn't actually count towards an outside evidence.
Yeah, you can't double dip. So you can't double dip and get points for the same exact one. So, for example, let's pretend that on that document, you said the contextualization of this document is the USS Maine. And you go into how the USS Maine led to the Spanish-American War. You can't say, but I also want this to be outside evidence. It can only count as one or the other.
I see.
Right. So they'll give you where the points are the best. So I would never use outside evidence in the HIP because they're never going to give you it. In my opinion, you should always do outside evidence up in this define and explain area up here.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about this section? Okay. So other things to be aware of. If you have multiple docs in a single category, do not define and explain and then put at the end doc 3 and 4. Instead, you go define, explain through doc, and then you repeat the process again. So let's pretend, for example, that I wanted to do assimilating new territories or getting control over new territories or something along the lines of that. And so what I do is I define and explain my doc 4, but then I say, additionally, Americans wanted new territories in order to spread Christianity. And then I go into assimilation, and then I say, this can be seen in Doc 6, which states that America wants to impose civilization and Christianity onto the natives of these new territories. Doc 6. Does that make sense? Hopefully. And then you can also make a category of just outside evidence. And if you just do it outside evidence, you just make your own category. So if I wanted to, for example, put the Turner thesis, and the Turner thesis was up in my thesis statement that the least important cause was the Turner thesis or something like that, I can just make my own paragraph and make it its own category. And then you would just do define and explain, and then you would not do, you can't do HIP, the doc, and then you would be achieving the outside evidence point. Okay, so in summary, what you need to do here, define, explain all 5 docs, state what it is and why it connects to the prompt. Use 2 to 3 pieces of outside evidence somewhere in your entire essay, and then HIP 2 to 3 of the documents. For the counter arguments, you do not have to have any documents associated with the counter argument at all. Yes, you should highlight it, and I'll send out a reminder to highlight your essay and things like that. So with your counter argument, so you introduce your counter argument. While there were many causes of America's expanding role in the war, it also led to many effects or something along those lines. One effect of this was the assimilation of territories. That would be your Doc 6. You do not have to have a single doc associated with this, so you can do all of this category 2, where everything is outside evidence. So that's up to you. You get 2 of those, and then you get the 1 point for your complexity, or otherwise known as the unicorn point. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So in the end, so I've also put this online too, which is the outline that we used before. So you can be able to use this if you would rather do it that way. Additionally, remember to highlight. So this is kind of what it ends up looking like. You have your opening paragraph, and then you have your topics right here. And then where is that found? If you go, and I will see if I can send an announcement out as well. On the day by day, I put on there the DBQ, and if you click on the DBQ, all this information is there. Okay. And then the reason I'm showing you this is if you would like to meet with me individually, you want me to read over your essay, you want help with this individual part, whatever it could possibly be, I always have signups. So please feel free to sign up so that we can be able to meet with each other and go over what we need to do to help you. Okay. So I think I've answered most people's questions. If you want to stop or stick around after I stop this in like 2 seconds and you want to talk with me over video or something like that, then we'll be good to go. But hopefully this